Favorite trainer with a belt buckle, here to help you pass the ACE-CPT. Oh, you came across this too late, didn't you? You've been spending 8-9 months and you're like, what the hell is this stuff? This isn't gonna help me be a trainer, but you need to pass it. Our study guide has you covered. We have weekly calls Tuesday and Thursday. Listen to what Liam has to say. Just got hired at 24, got his ACE. He's gonna start helping people. Currently reading the book. He passed ACE. It gives you some great study hacks, study tricks. Focus on the guide. Once you pass, focus on becoming a qualified level 1 coach. Let us know what you think about this call. Check us out, showfitness.com, all over the world. All you got to do is show up. All righty, so we're going to help you all pass the ACE with our boy Liam up in Washington.
Hey, guys.
Going to be training here out of 24 Hour. Really excited that we were able to help him pass the ACE. Cool story, because he was studying for 8-9 months, and then I don't know if it was a coworker or someone, but they suggested to check us out. So tell us a little bit more about that, and then we'll talk about the exam.
Hey, guys. So exactly as Chris just kind of said, so I've been working with 24 Hour Fitness for about 1.5 years now. About 5 months into my career there, I was like, hey, you know what would be cool? Let's be a trainer. And it is definitely a really cool experience getting into it, learning about it. But I spent too much time studying that textbook, and it was on and off. And then my coworker, who is actually a trainer now, he recommended your guys' videos, Show Up Fitness, and it was a great resource for me to use. The study guide, I also got the study guide, paired it with the textbook. Having those hand in hand together was just a really good thing to get me through those like last month, and then finally get me taking my test.
And I remember you hopped on some of the calls on Tuesday and Thursday, and you were asking questions, and it just helps to hear it. And then you did a great job of being able to pair up the questions and the answers. And just even though the ACE is different than NASM, we on those calls talk a lot about NASM, but there is a little bit of overlap. But on the exam, like you were saying earlier, not a ton on agonists, synergists, even overactive, underactive. You know, what would you say is the main bulk of the studying that you focused on within the guide, and it helped you pass?
Yeah, so 9, 10, and 11, chapters 9, 10, and 11, or on the study guide, is going to be about 70% of the application questions that are on the exam, given client scenarios, postural deviations. There will be some of those overactive, underactive, but while reading the question, you kind of have to have in mind what those already are, and then they'll apply an exercise or a scenario towards those overactive and underactive muscles. Like, for example, your client X and will be within levels 1, 2, and 3, or within functional movement or load and speed. You have to kind of determine that by the question, and then they'll give you 4 examples between levels 1, 2, and 3, and you just have to choose the best answer.
I think a lot of it's kind of common sense, because one is usually like advanced. It's like an athlete. One is like for grandma, and then one is for the answer that you're looking for. And you know, overall, if you, especially being in a gym environment, you're competent with what exercises do. I think that just helps a lot with when you're reading it. You're not getting lost or confused when you see something like, if it were to say, you know, subtalar pronation or adduction or whatever. It's like you can grasp that, calm down, you find the answer, and then you move on. And so just focusing on 9 through 11 is huge. We usually see some stuff on maybe stages of change, SOAP notes, and, you know, blood pressure, not too much on cardio, heart stuff. And so it's like, if you think of it like you're about to take a test for a poli-sci class in college, and your professor says, hey, here's what you're going to be tested on. Sure, you can read the whole thing. It's confusing. It might take you 8 to 9 months. What the study guide does is condense it into focus on this, and you will pass The unfortunate thing is, though, once you do pass, you don't really know what you got right or wrong, right?
That that is true. You got that assessments, at the end of the test, which is really cool. You can see where you scored in each category, but they're not going to go and review over the answers.
Mhm.
Um, exactly what you said too, with like soap notes and motivational interviewing. Those were really big. That was pretty much all the scope of practice and like safety portions and building that client relationship. It's like a bunch on those questions. So I would just go over motivational interviewing, and then that little table where it's the client scope of practice. There's actually more than one question on that. There's almost, at least me personally, got around 3 to 4. Yeah, yep. Where it gives the scenario and it's like, what are you allowed or not allowed to do as a ACE trainer?
Yeah, yeah. And I always like to ask, now that you passed it, do you feel really competent and prepared to start training people, or do you feel that the process is a little flawed?
No. So I'm reading your book right now. How to
Love
be
it.
a
You
better
got the
person.
book.
Yes, sir.
There you
We're
go.
reading your Kindle right now. There's definitely things in there I totally agree with. My own company is preparing me for a role, and I'm super excited for it, but I am not going into that role until I feel competent that I can train clients and get them the results that they want to see.
I got to give you a ton of credit because you recognize that flaw and you said you are shadowing people and you're learning, you're able to ask questions. That's exactly what we should be doing. Where it's unfortunate, but you hear that statistic 90% of trainers who get certified quit. It's because they get this, whether if it's ISSA or whatever, then they go out there and they don't know what they're doing and they don't have a source to ask questions to see. And then more importantly, implement what they're learning. And so you're in great hands. 24 is lucky to have you. And
Hey,
excited to, you're at a really great point right now because you're going to start training, getting those reps and learning the systems, and then come January, you're going to start training, helping, kicking ass. We have our online, so feel free to. I'll give you a month free for chatting with me today. But get on there, ask questions, and whether if it be a client who has a shoulder issue, hip issue, knee, it's nice to kind of go through different scenarios and looking at the exercise that you choose that may be more appropriate, regress and progress, but most importantly, help them get results, build your book of business, and just continue to do what you're passionate about. So I really appreciate you taking your time. And if you were to give a piece of advice for someone who comes across this video, maybe a couple days before, a week before the exam, what piece of advice would you have before get the guide?
yeah, no, pieces of advice I would give is just that day before the test. It's very much common sense, but get your 8 hours of sleep. Make sure you're making a good dinner and a good breakfast the night before. And a day of cramming is not going to change the outcome of you passing or failing your test. Most likely, all of y'all are going to do great. I was freaking out about it, and here we are. We've got that ACE certification, and we are wanting to learn more.
Love it.
Um, but that's pretty much the pieces of advice I would give you guys.
Next, you got to show up and get your level one. That's what we got to get you going through next.